Hello everyone. I thought that these videos and articles this week were great because they can be applied not only to students, but what you can do as a teacher and how you can communicate with parents. Well, I've seen some of the technology like Edmodo that was shown in some of the videos. It was really neat to see them being actively used in a classroom and not just kind of, oh, well, we've used it once, twice. The students seemed really engaged when they were using like the infused learning software. And I like that it gives immediate and kind of personalized feedback. And I think immediate feedback is great for students with disabilities and students without disabilities, because it can show you which areas and which things you need to work on. And then you can, get help from the teacher. The teacher can, base their instruction on how students are doing, on the feedback that they get on their end. And I think that platforms like Edmodo are great because students can work at their own pace on the different homework assignments, and they can also communicate with their other classmates through comments and polls, and the teachers can, kind of monitor that communication. I like that the teacher in the Infuse and Edmodo video also talked about what she did to accommodate the students that didn't have access to a computer or to internet or have internet access at home. I think it's important to remember that a lot of students do have this technology, but there are students still that can't afford it, or for some reason their parents don't have, computer or internet access in their home. So I think while we are moving towards a more technology-driven society, I think it's also important to remember that there are those who do not have access to it, and we need to be accommodating to those students as well. I also enjoyed the different tips that were given in the interactive whiteboard article. I think tip number 8 is my favorite, refine the lesson. I think that this is the most valuable tip because you can use that for, present and future practice. Each group of students that you are going to get they're going to be different each year. One year a lesson could go fabulously, the next year it could go horribly. So it is always important to kind of reflect and refine your lessons as you go. If without this reflection, you can't improve, you can't, adjust to your students' needs. So I think that at any stage, if you're just starting out or you've been teaching for years, this is probably the most valuable tip because you can, you can always improve, you can always refine, you can always find a different way to connect with students better. So I don't think anything is ever totally perfect the first time that you do it. I would also like to definitely include technology into my future classroom like they showed in the Infuse and Edmodo video. In the OSU video, the students were using the technology, and some professors were using it, but I'm sure it's not the case with all professors. One student talked about how much he was able to do with his phone, and many students, again, not all, it is important to keep in mind the students that don't have this technology, but a lot of students have these smartphones anyways, so why not find a way to incorporate them into your classroom? Because they will probably be more engaged if they're using a device they're familiar with, a device that they like to use. I don't know about you, but I've had some students that have taken out their phones in classes, so I mean, why not use it if they're already going to have it with them? And I think it's important to keep in mind that, like as the tile video said, like a tile infuses technology into learning in such a manner that it is integral to acquisition of knowledge. So it's not we're using technology for the sake of technology. So as long as I can apply that technology in a way that is enhancing the learning experience in a meaningful way, then I would be 100% all for trying out the different technologies and doing the trainings to learn how to use them correctly. I think that for many students with disabilities, technology can definitely enhance their, experiences in the classroom. Especially in the interactive whiteboard article on page 50, it talked about how computer-generated speech may be preferable for students who have difficulty understanding pragmatics and prosody of person-generated instructions. I had never really considered that the actual tone of voice would be the would hinder someone who has problems processing speech. I mean, I know like sarcasm and figurative speech could be an issue, but I never actually considered the tone. So that was really eye-opening for me. And if this is what it would take for a student to be able to understand different parts of the lesson and the instructions that are being given, I would definitely incorporate the technology that would present it in, this either computerized voice or a different way with pictures, like it talks about in the whiteboard article, where you have the picture and the word and the sounds. So I think that would be a wonderful thing to consider using. Overall, I think that tiles are pivotal in preparing students for jobs and everyday life, because they will encounter all of this technology in their future jobs, or again, like in everyday situations. You go to the bank, you'll use technology. You want to send an email that requires technology. So it's important, I think, to prepare students with for these technologies, and one way you can do that is by using them in your classroom. And for students with disabilities, this technology can not only improve their life in school, but it can also improve their life outside of school, like many of the different speech devices, the different AAC devices that have been talked about in various blogs that people have written. So I would definitely look at and consider my students' needs, and look at the tips that were provided in the interactive whiteboard article, and consider those tips during the different stages of lesson planning, not just the actual process of lesson planning, but after the lesson plan, after you teach a lesson, so you can do that tip number 8 and refine your lesson. I would like to use the various programs that were talked about in the Closing the Communications Gap article to communicate with any co-teachers that I might be working with, if that's the situation I find myself in. If they're willing to work on one of those platforms, that would be great. It does not replace the face-to-face communication, but it kind of extends the time and allows you to do it at different times than during the school day. And I would also like to use things like the Infuse learning software, because it's a different means of engaging students and being able to assess their knowledge and plan around that. Or like in the tile video, talks about using iBooks and students being able to notate and change the font sizes in them. So that would be a great thing to use, that students are able to manipulate and kind of customize for themselves. And there was in that video, it also talked about how you could use the technology to do a project that kids they pick out the topic themselves. The kid did a why I like Minecraft video, and he was able to use these different technologies and kind of show what he was doing. So I think if you can base projects around the technology and within the curriculum that students find interesting, you can only engage them more. So it's a kind of win-win situation there. And if I can really consider the needs of my students and how they learn and what technology could enhance all of these aspects, then I think I'm taking a step in the right direction. Technology provides valuable learning experiences in and out of the classroom. The boundaries of the classroom are kind of disappearing. This learning is portable in most cases now. So I would like to use various means to connect with my parents in regards to these technologies that are being used. The article, Reaching the New Digital Parent, talks about how many parents are now using, smartphones and iPads and stuff like that. So I think it would be important to, connect and contact your parents through these different means, and you can let them know about the different technologies that their student is using. And this helps create kind of an open line of communication, and it allows them to be kept in the loop on all the different things that you're using in your classroom. So I think, and parent involvement is definitely a part of student success. So if you are able to, incorporate parents into, the fold, they can support their student better. If they know how to use the technologies, that's even better. You can, I don't know, do online classes or something. Or have them come in for a night and you show them how to use it so they're familiar with, the textbook online or their grades online, and they can support their students at home. So I really enjoyed this week's materials for those various reasons, and I hope to use a lot of the practices that I read about in my future classroom. So until next time, bye.